we're talking about mercy as a quality of, as the number one quality of Muhammadﷺ. Now, mercy comes from, mercy is the very reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Rasoolullah ﷺ. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Now if you look at this ayah in its sense of grammar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is starting with nafi, like in the kalima, La ilaha, there is no one worthy of worship, illallah, except Allah, which serves to emphasize the statement that is being made. So even here, Allah is saying, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ, and we have not sent you, illa, except as rahmatan lil alameen, as a mercy to all of creation. Rahmatan lil alameen, not even all of mankind. So not only is Allah not saying وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ, Allah is not even saying وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلنَّاسِ. Allah is not saying we did not send you except as a mercy for Muslims, we did not send you except as a mercy for human beings. No. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Muhammadur Rasulullah ﷺ is a mercy to all of creation. All that we know and all that we don't know. Exact nature of this mercy, how is he a mercy to Jupiter, and how is he a mercy to the stars, and how is he a mercy to the sky, and how is he, we don't know the how exactly, but we know the statement of his Rabb Jalla Jalaluhu, who is also the creator of Jupiter and the stars and the Mars and Uranus and so on, that he said Jalla Jalaluhu, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he sent Mirza, and he said, we have sent you as nothing except a mercy to all of creation. And that's the reason why we have to study the life of Muhammad. Now, the mercy of Rasulullah is famous. There is quite literally no example that I can give you which has a parallel in today's world. Because if you look at the life of Rasulullah, his entire period in Makkah, the period of Risala, not the entire his life in Makkah, but the period of Risala is a period where he received only opposition, he received only bad treatment, he received only oppression from his own people. You know, one is to face oppression and one is to face tension and so on from strangers. It's not nice, but it is comparatively easier to bear, because you say, well, you know, these are strangers, well, what else do we expect? But to have to face that from your own people, that is very difficult. Because you have an expectation that, you know, this is my brother, this is my friend, this is my so-and-so. Now you get ill treatment from them, and that is very painful. And that's what he got. He got the worst treatment from his own people. The closest to him, Abu Lahab. Who was Abu Lahab? Abu Lahab was his own uncle. And when we say uncle, we must understand the meaning of uncle. Father's own brother. In the Arabian cultural, tribal context. Today we don't have that. I mean, it's very difficult for people like us to even understand that, because we do not have a tribal culture, or at least we don't have that kind of tribal culture. We have our own version of tribal culture, but we don't have that kind of tribal. So an uncle there is quite literally in the position of the father. Even till today, if you go to Arabia, if you go to the non-urbanized Arabs, and I have some family, I have some very dear friends in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere who are Badu, who are you know, people from the people of the soil, and to see them behave, to see the young people behave with their uncles, to see them, it's amazing. I mean, it's unbelievable. You haven't even. I can tell you very clearly that in this country, in India, you do not even know the meaning of Adam. You haven't even smelt the fragrance of Adam. You don't even know what Adam means. You want to see Adam? Go to the Arabs. Go and see how the Arabs who are true to their tradition, see how the young ones behave in their family to the elders. Even today, despite all the change and all the corruption and whatnot, there are these things which are there with them. So you can imagine what this must have been in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And there, somebody like that, who I have respected so much and who I have treated like this, now turns against me and becomes my worst enemy. What kind of pain? And that's the reason why Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said every Nabi suffered in the path of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. Every Nabi faced pain. And he said, I have faced pain more than anyone else. So if you think about it now, you must say, well, there were Anbiya who were physically beaten and tortured and killed and so on, but that didn't happen to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He did suffer some of that, like in Taif and so on, but it didn't happen in that context of being imprisoned, thrown into prison like Yusuf alayhi salam, or being tortured and so on. So what was suffering? That suffering is psychological suffering, it is mental suffering, it is suffering of breaking of the heart. You have to understand the wus'at and the strength of the heart of a Nabi, and this comes directly from Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala strengthens the hearts of His Anbiya, because without that the work of the Nubuwwat cannot be done. And that's the reason why it's very important for us to develop this mental and spiritual and psychological courage that comes only and only with connection with Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. If we really want to be Muslims, and if we really want to do the work of dawah, if you want to continue to work in the face of discouragement, in the face of opposition, you have to have a very, very big heart. Otherwise you cannot survive. So this is the mercy of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Take some of the hadith, for example. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's famous hadith, which all of us have heard many times. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said there was a woman who had a cat, a pet cat. She locked it up. The cat couldn't get access. She went off somewhere and the cat couldn't get access to food and water and so on. And the cat died, and Allah will give her Jahannam for that. A cat. The woman didn't murder the cat. The woman was careless about the cat. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said there was a thirsty dog, and he was trying to get some water. Water was at the bottom of a well. A man was passing by. He saw this dog in this state of wanting to get water. So the man, he had no utensil. So he tied a string to his shoe, and he dipped the shoe in the well, and he brought the shoe up and he gave the water in the shoe to the dog to drink. And Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala will give Jannah to this man for this reason, giving water to a dog. I'm giving you these examples because there are many other examples of the mercy of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Rahmah also for the cats and dogs. Rahmah also for the trees. Rahmah for the environment. Rahmah for society. Rahmah for everything. So even though this may look like a small action, it shows that it's not a small action. Every action that pleases Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala is a big action. Every action that displeases Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala is also a big action. So don't imagine that it's a small. There's nothing small, because it pleases Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala said, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ إِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. Allah said, the good deed and the evil deed are not equal. They cannot be equal. So what must you do? Repel the evil deed with hiya ahsan, with something which is the best. So if somebody does something evil to you, what must you do? Repel that, give that back with something which is the best. Then what will happen? Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala says, then the same person who was your worst enemy will become your greatest friend. Now in the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I can give you many examples, but let me give you one. One of his worst enemies, one of his biggest enemies was who? Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan. Till the end. Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu did not leave a single stone unturned in trying to malign the reputation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in trying to harm him physically, in trying to kill him. He did everything possible. Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala protected his Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so Abu Sufyan could not succeed, but he did everything. One of the most wonderful stories in this context is Abu Sufyan's meeting with Heraclius, the king of the king of Byzantium, where Heraclius heard about Rasoolullah. So he said to them, he said to the people, who are these people who claim that a prophet has been sent to them? So they said they are these Arabs. So he said, find me some of those people. Now it so happened that Abu Sufyan and a few of his companions, they were in Palestine at that time. They were trading. So the Romans came and they found them and they brought them to Heraclius. So in the court of the Eastern Roman Emperor, Heraclius said, who is the leader among you? So Abu Sufyan said, I am the leader. So he said to Abu Sufyan, come forward. He said to the people, stand behind him. I am going to ask him questions, and if he tells a lie, then you signal to me. So now Abu Sufyan is in a funny situation where he is in front, he does not know what people are doing behind his back. And the king has said to them that if this man tells a lie, signal to me. So Abu Sufyan got, he was in a position where now it was a very dicey position. So Heraclius asked him, and this is one of the stories of the Seerah which we should read and we should study. He asked him a lot of questions. See the question. For example, he asked him, who are the people who follow him? Who are the people? So Abu Sufyan said, only the poor. The people who follow him are people who are poor, who have no place in society. Now Abu Sufyan is giving answers which are true, but also the answers which he hopes will turn off Heraclius. So here's the king of the Romans. Who follows this man? Nobody important, all these poor people. Then he said, have you ever had a conflict with him? Meaning in war. Have you faced him in war? Abu Sufyan said, yes. He said, what was the result? Abu Sufyan said, sometimes he wins, sometimes we win. So perhaps his intention was, if he was a Nabi, he would win all the time. So sometimes we win. So what kind of Nabi is this who loses in war? So Abu Sufyan is trying to do as much damage as possible, right? So similarly, he asked him many questions. Then Heraclius asked him and said, have you had a treaty with him? And this was after Sulh Hudaybiyah. So Heraclius said, Abu Sufyan said, yes, we have a treaty with him. He said, has he broken the treaty? So Abu Sufyan said, not yet. Now see this. He could have said it is not broken, but it is not yet. Meaning that there is a possibility he might break it. Later on, now the result of all of this was that at the end of that, Heraclius said, all of what you have said are the characteristics of a true prophet. Yeah? Heraclius was a learned man, he was a Christian. He said, all of what you have said are the characteristics of a true prophet. He said, even Jesus, who followed him? The poor. Who were against him? The wealthy. And he said, and Heraclius said that if I could meet him, he said, I would wash his feet. He never became Muslim, but this is what his statement was to Abu Sufyan. Now later on, Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu said that in that whole conversation, I tried to do as much damage to Muhammad ﷺ as I could, but the only thing I managed to say was not yet. I couldn't say anything else. Now the reason I am saying this is, here was a man who treated Rasulullah ﷺ so badly. But what was the treatment of Rasulullah ﷺ to Abu Sufyan when Abu Sufyan was in his power? See, one is to be nice to somebody because you really have no choice. What will you do? Whoever is being nasty to you is too powerful, so you can't do anything to him. Maybe you can make faces behind his back or something, but other than that, what can you do? But the point is that when somebody who has harmed you is in your power and you have absolute control over what you can do to him, Rasulullah ﷺ could have had Abu Sufyan killed, he could have, he could have had him executed, he could have done anything he wanted. After Fatah Makkah, Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu was in his control, was in his power. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't have to do it personally, he could have simply signaled to somebody, it would have been done. But what did he do with Abu Sufyan? He forgave Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu. He announced and said that Abu Sufyan and his family are safe. He said, whoever goes into the house of Abu Sufyan, whoever takes refuge in the house of Abu Sufyan is safe. Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu said, Ya Rasulullah, my house is not so big, all the people of Makkah cannot come inside. He said, whoever stays in his own house is safe. Just don't come out into the street. Because he didn't want clashes and he didn't want a civil war happening in the night. So he said, just stay inside your homes. And he said this on the prompting of Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu. What was the result? Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu became one of the greatest supporters of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ayat of the Quran. Same thing with Khalid bin Walid. And I mentioned that elsewhere in this series. But same thing with Khalid bin Walid. Same thing with Amr bin As. Same thing with Al-Wahshi radiallahu anhu. Returning, please understand, to return bad for bad is justice. Meaning that if you are harmed, to demand compensation, to demand retribution, to demand that the person who harmed you should be punished. This is the law. There is nothing to feel apologetic about that. There is nothing to hesitate about that. It is your right. If somebody murders someone close to you, you're part of the family, then it is your right to demand compensation. It's your right to demand that the person, that the culprit, the murderer must be executed. It's your right. If you say that, the Quran gives you this right. But then the Quran, having said that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but if you forgive, I will get Jannah. This is the beauty of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is prescribing the punishment very clearly, Allah then says, but if you forgive. And forgiveness in Islam is what? Forgiveness in Islam is not only will you not insist on the person's execution, you will also not even take blood money. Free the person for the sake of Allah. And that is what Rasoolullah emulated. So mercy, which we expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not justice. Mercy is positive injustice. Mercy is to give more than is due. Mercy is to give more than what is due. We ask Allah for His mercy. We do not ask Allah for justice. We don't ask Allah for adl. We ask Allah for mercy. We ask Allah to forgive us even though we do not deserve forgiveness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us Jannah even though we do not deserve Jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us even though we do not protect the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us even though we do not do anything to help His deen. That does not mean we continue like this. We will do our best, inshallah, make that niyyah, that we will change our ways. But we will obviously never fulfill the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet we ask Allah Jalla Jalaluhu to forgive us because that is His shan. Allahumma innaka afuwun kareemun tuhibbul af fa'fu anni. Fa'fu anna. Oh Allah, you are the one who forgives and you are the glorious one. And you love to forgive. Therefore forgive me and forgive us. Oh Allah, forgive me because that is what you like to do. Not because I deserve forgiveness. Forgive me because you like to forgive. Indulge your shawq. Make yourself happy. What makes you happy? Forgiveness makes you happy. So forgive me. As my Shaykh used to say, baat banti hai meri, kya tera bigadta hai. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. And for that it is necessary, that's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, show mercy to those on the face of the earth and the one in the heaven will show mercy to you.